Hey guys, good morning. I've just poured myself a coffee and I am ready to talk about 5G. What's the truth behind it? Why are there so many conspiracy theories? We're not going to be talking conspiracy theories today. We're just going to be talking about the reality. What is 5G for? There are no conspiracy theories in this video. It is purely the facts. So we're going to go over it. We're going to talk about how you might even be wearing an RFID tag in the future, coming up on this video. So make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Help me promote this video because this type of video is unlikely to get promoted naturally by the algorithm. Is 5G about connecting everything in the home? It's about that. Sure, it's about that. It's about that, but is that the real purpose behind it? Is it purely about the user experience and giving you an HD video instantaneously instead of waiting 2 minutes for a video to fully download a movie? Are you going to get that higher HD resolution that your screen can't even show you yet? It's not so much about this. It's more about big industry, centralization of data, power, control, and about this. It's about high resolution facial recognition. It's about instantaneous surveillance, artificial intelligence collating all of the data instantaneously at all locations. It's also about self-driving cars. You'll actually notice some of the 5G towers, which have to be placed in every 250 feet or meters or so. So you will be seeing them everywhere. They actually can't pass through. The waves can't even pass through trees. So you'll notice them cutting down trees in some of these locations. Sometimes these towers even look like trees. So that's an interesting twist on things. Talk about saving the environment, all these sensors that are supposed to be regulating your carbon and all of the power and energy consumption, but in the process of it, destroying part of the environment in order to build it. Seems a little backwards, doesn't it? Well, we're going to talk more about some of this stuff in this video. So you can see right here, this officer here is using map-based geolocation of devices. The surveillance drones are out and about. They can check your body temperature. They can even check your heart rate. And at that point, they actually did come up with a method to directly fingerprint individuals based on their unique heart rate. That's a real thing. Look it up for yourself. So we have radar here. We have all of the different types of uses. 5G is going to connect everything together, just like the World Economic Forum has promised. You'll even be getting RFID tags in your clothing, according to Davos themselves. So there's some benefits, of course. You're going to see a lot of conveniences, instantaneous recognition of you using your biometrics, which is one reason there's a program right now called ID 2020 that is meant to give everyone in the world a digital ID. Now, what's unique and interesting about these smart cities, if you look up the very first step for a smart city, you will find that the very first requirement, and this is publicly posted on their own Twitter feeds, that everyone needs a digital passport, a digital biometric passport. Interesting, isn't that? Seeing what's happening today, I've mentioned in past videos that I do believe a biometric-based digital passport is going to be dangerous for our privacy. Who is going to control that data? Who is going to be able to resell that? And a lot of times with these data agreements, the third party doesn't have to abide by the agreement you originally signed off on. So if you make I agree on, say, a privacy agreement for an app or something, if they are sharing your data with a third party, that third party doesn't necessarily have to abide at all by that agreement. So keep that in mind. Our data is very important. Everything on our identity is going to be our opportunity or lack thereof in the future. And what you're seeing now already is unspoken about social credit scores. We call them the algorithms. In the US, for example, in Western countries, a lot of this is privatized, and it is only known as the algorithm. you'll notice certain videos get pushed to the top and other ones do not, because they are not part of the algorithm, what they want to promote, we'll say. So videos like this may not get promoted. So if you want to help out, spread this information, please do share this. I think it's important to talk about everything because, you know, a lot of people are silent. They're more worried about the hits they get. And I think it's important to just tell things how it is. The truth is, it is going to be about surveillance, mass surveillance. It's going to be about collecting data on everything you can think of, everything you can imagine. And a lot of this is done under the guise of saving the environment, regulating the overconsumption of energy, and so on and so on. So could you be in this world in the future where you have to basically get facial recognition scans in order to enter places that will attire your digital biometric identification? How else will this work? What else will tie to that facial recognition scan where every bit of the data that is collected may be in a chain available to those parties? We also have, this is something called HexWave. It is actually being installed in certain areas in Western countries. It's a 5G style frequency body scanner. So what I mean by that is the frequencies that it uses don't pass through past the skin layer. Now, the danger there is there have been some connections in this type of technology to potential skin cancer. And a lot of the operators have actually had skin cancer. This is a very close thing to me. My family deals with skin cancer heavily. In fact, my own family member did get skin cancer from operating this type of device. And I'm not going to go into more detail on that, but I am concerned about the potential for health effects of some of this stuff. And I mean that when I say my own close family member, which will be unnamed, got severe skin cancer, stage 3, and it was pretty bad. And they actually worked in a position where they operated these type of body scanners. I'm not going to go into further detail, but it's a personal issue for me. I am concerned about some of the health effects. Personally, I have an almost 90% chance of getting skin cancer myself, just genetically. So it's a personal issue for me. Let's talk about the agenda here for the surveillance, the 5G. What is the real agenda? Let's listen to Boris Johnson and see what he has to say about it.
These will pullulate with sensors, all joined together by the Internet of Things, and the urban environment is as antiseptic as a Zurich pharmacy. But this technology could also be used to keep every citizen under round-the-clock surveillance. A future Alexa will pretend to take orders, but this Alexa will be watching you, clucking her tongue and stamping her foot. In future, voice connectivity will be in every room and almost every object. Your mattress will monitor your nightmares, your fridge.
The truth is, once this is completed, you will have no more say in it. Those who are behind the technology, they are the ones who will have the last say in its use. The lobbying of the tech industry is extremely powerful. They're even getting their own cities now in certain states like Nevada, where smart cities are being given to governorship with their own privatized police stations run by the tech companies. So is there danger? Yes. And I do think it's important I talk about it because, after all, this channel is about your human rights online, tech-based human rights, and the future and protecting people from, a future they don't want. So what do the RFID beacons have to do with anything? Let's talk a little bit about RFID now. Now, with self-driving vehicles, one of the problems has been that they could not recognize people, pedestrians, those on bikes and those walking. What's actually coming out in Biden's own infrastructure bill is actual testing to see if pedestrians, me, you, walking, taking walks, riding our bikes, will have to wear RFID tags, which is basically radio tags wherein we'll actually have to have these in our clothing or helmet, whatever situation they end up pulling it in, because the reason they stopped the self-driving car movement was because these cars were actually hitting people because they cannot see people. They're actually studying this, and you're going to see this around the world, where they're going to be looking at the potential for things. They talk about how it could be a crime not to wear a radio tag and a tracking tag on you. So it's a pretty big deal. I mean, some of these, they have readers for 25 meters away, but with the 5G technology and all the Internet of Things, you're able to communicate that tracking on a worldwide scale. You could technically centralize track every individual wearing an RFID tag just using some of that technology. Here we see another long-range RFID tracker. How do these things work? Well, here you see a lot of them come just as a thin little pad with a microchip and an antenna, and they don't all have batteries. So you may see things like this as a security mechanism in a store, but you're also going to see it, according to Davos in the World Economic Forum, you're going to be seeing this in your clothing when you buy it, and it's going to be part of the Internet of People, as they call it. You're going to have radio tags. And how do they transmit if they don't have a battery? Well, the actual reader can actually transmit and reflect that RF. And otherwise, there's also what's known as active tags that do have batteries. So it doesn't mean, just because it doesn't have a battery, doesn't mean that it's not sending unique information. It can have a few different stores of information that could uniquely identify individuals. This is another example of an RFID tag, and here's a little tracker on a phone, which is just an example. Of course, like I said, with 5G and all of the Internet of Things, you can have RFID tracking on every piece of clothing potentially, and you'll have it coming inside bicycles. In fact, the head of the union of the bicycle manufacturers has already made agreements with autonomous cars to install these RFID or Bluetooth beacons. Basically, it could become something in our phones that could be required in the future, depending on how things go. It's another reason I do like to promote the PinePhone. Now, while it's not ready exactly for everyone yet, it is something that is outside the mainstream duopoly, which is basically controlling the direction of innovation. So I do believe it's important to support outside projects in order to give yourself and others a little more freedom in the way that things go developed. Here's another RFID real-time location tracking network. You in the future wearing your RFID tags. So what do you think about all this? I want to hear your comments below. Centralized data controllers will have everything at every moment. With 5G, what is it really about? Now, of course, there's going to be benefits to 5G. There's going to be a lot of benefits. I'm not against, innovation, and I'm definitely not against IoT. There are some cool uses for it. You can use it for your own security and whatnot. In fact, I just recently built a image for IoT gateway. So there's also decentralized communication. There's all kinds of things you can do with some of this stuff, like LoRa, for example. And of course, 5G, they promised it would prevent Stingrays, but it looks like it is not going to prevent Stingrays. If you want to support stuff like this, check out my public blog. It's over at buymecoffee.com/politictech. You don't have to register or anything to read it. There's also additional services there. I have all the posts and videos organized by category for you, so you can simply click on what it is that you're interested in, and you can read about that, and you can also check out some of the tutorials where I put out different things in writing as well as video format. So make sure to check that out and follow me there. I want to hear your comments, so make sure to leave a comment below, and I will be back later with more on tech, Linux, open source, human rights, and protecting your privacy.